Hey, this is Ihab. In this video I want to talk about proxy rigging for complex models. So this is the spider character that I had for the film, and in order for me to be able to animate it properly without being hindered by the computing processing performance, I had to make a proxy version of it. So let me show you first what the render version looks like. And here are some clips from the film. So the movement there is not that complex in terms of the animation, but still I had to so here is some animation from the film, and you can see right now it's still kind of stable, so it's not moving, so it's not really a problem. But when it comes to a scene like this, where I needed to move the spider fluently or without being distracted by the lack of computer ability to move the spider well, because it was pretty complex in terms of the geometry. And especially this scene, I had a lot of animation to do, and it needed to be as intuitive as possible. And when you're doing an animation, the least amount of lag could really kill your creativity. So the proxy was extremely helpful in this case, because without being distracted by a lag from the computer. Alright, so back to the spider. This is what the file looked like with some, I just made some colorful materials here so it would be easier to see. So I'm gonna show you the complex parts. Now at the time I was using a supposedly great computer, but the computers at the time were not really that great. So you can take that kind of comparison even to nowadays, like when they work on something extremely expensive with geometry. One great example of that would be Monsters Inc. with the monsters with the fur and all this. So you need to have something that takes your mind away from any potential lag in the computer. So this is what the expensive geometry looks like. You get even to the level of like the coils of the hose, for instance. But in the meantime, you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to worry about that. You have even the coils here on each of the eyes. It has different coils. It's pretty expensive. And then you have like parts like this, for instance, for something that is not necessarily going to be seen in the camera, or gears, or ticking pieces, or spring. And you have 8 of those, right? So how do you do the proxy rigging? It's very simple. If this piece, for instance, is going to be keeping that dimension or that kind of like look, then what you can do is you can just bring a cylinder or a cube and you extend it to look exactly like this piece. And then you parent it to that piece in a way, however this piece moves, then the proxy would move. For instance, if you have a cylinder, you can pretty much get a disk, and then you can, if you want to be precise as possible, you can make it like a cylinder with that height and that radius. Then you would always know where that gear is located and how it's moving. Same here. Now if this spring is not going to interact with things, then you don't have to worry about it. What you do have to worry about, for instance, is making sure that you know where this tip is going in order for you to animate a walk or a jump. So what does the proxy looks like for this character? So I have a layer here for all the legs. I'm gonna take it off. I have this layer here for some of the bells and whistles. And here is the proxy layer. So let me show you, for instance. Say I select these controllers, the master controllers of the actual legs. So the master controllers control the actual rig, but because of the parenting between the proxy geometry and the actual rig, they abide by the same movement. So I'm gonna go here to the driven keys that I have for the original rig. You can see the movement response is instant. And now in comparison, for instance, here are all the legs. And especially if you have a scene that has a lot of these spiders. So this is definitely a technique that I had to use when I was doing also my other film, Plastic Glory, where I had some complex rigging and I had so many of those hero assets to be duplicated over and over, and then it has become pretty much impossible to animate them while staying intuitive and creative. And for that reason, the proxy was a must for me, just like for this character. So I hope this video was helpful.